I clicked it and there was a delay, so I waited.
So
Cause shit is buffing, bro, bussin'. Do you use Chrome?
yes.
I'm gonna leave Chrome. I'm not using Chrome anymore.
Why?
Because it takes up too much shit on my computer.
What do you
Like
mean?
RAM. It slows my computer down significantly when I use it. So I downloaded this new browser called Opera GX, which is like the gamer Opera, if you know what Opera is.
I don't.
It's essentially Chrome, but gamer, and you can import all your bookmarks and shit. So it's essentially just Chrome too. And
Chrome, Electric Boogaloo.
yeah, but this time it doesn't take a million things of RAM, and it is more optimized. I don't know. It has everything laid out. It's got a launch pad and everything. So I think I'm gonna switch over because it's the one that everyone shills on YouTube. They sponsor YouTubers to go like, oh, try this out. Use my code in the description below, and it will give me money to my channel. And it's like, bro, no. I can go to the website. It has the download for free button. I'm not gonna click your link.
Give me monies.
Give me monies. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
What am I doing?
What are you doing?
I was moving my food over to a different portion of my desk
You gotta keep it clean.
so I could give you my full attention.
Ooh, that is. Well, I have it, so
Yeah, you have it. So let's talk about something.
I think it's your. Come on, let's go.
I mean, we could talk about football.
That will be a very one-sided
I
conversation.
know how much you love football, so we could talk about football.
I'm still
playoffs
keeping up
start
with like
today.
people, their wins and stuff, like teams' wins and how they're doing.
Yeah.
I still am, because I find it interesting. But outside of that,
Okay, I'll give a recap of our football predictions series that lasted 7 or 8 episodes.
yes,
So, yeah, shit went south quickly, as apparently everything has on this channel. And I think so. We stopped uploading videos around week 8, and then around week 10, you just stopped picking.
yes,
Yeah,
because it was like I missed 3 weeks in a row when I remembered, and I was like, well, now it's gonna be inaccurate and all that, so it's not worth
Right.
the effort. I literally forgot it existed for like 3 weeks. I was like, oh
Yeah.
shit. Oh,
Me
well,
and-
that's fucked.
me and Sil kept going though.
Oh yeah, who's winning?
Well, it's over now because we're not doing playoffs. We just did the regular season.
Oh, I didn't know if they started yet.
And there was a $50 bet on it.
Who won?
And Sil led the entire time, basically.
Yeah.
And I was like starting to pick wild teams. I was like, I gotta catch up. So I gotta just start throwing shit out there, throwing shit at the fans, seeing what sticks, you know?
Yeah.
I retook the lead week 17, the second to last week. I finally retook the lead, and still was not happy about it. But I clutched up, won the bet. So there you go. For the H2C lore on our Wikipedia page,
The lore.
you can now officially. Here's the official confirmation that I won season 1 of NFL predictions.
There we go. Add it to the lore book.
Mark that down on the Wikipedia page.
You know what I actually want to do just for fun, just because I like the idea? You know how you can make your own wikis?
Yeah.
I want to make an H2C wiki myself. For purely like narcissisticness. Like I just want to have like an article on me, an article on you, on the channel, on what we've done, what has ended, like
on NFL predictions.
like literally everything. Like
Yeah.
it was started this year. It went 7 weeks, and then it kind of fell off. And in episode 18, the one where there was a haunted house in the corner, not the number, they wrapped it all up. You know, the victor was Adrian. They got the $50, and so that's. I always found like wikis and shit really entertaining to just browse through. I love categorizing information. So
Yeah, you put Adrian 1 season 1, and then you have the little like source number by it. When you click it, it timestamps right here.
And it has this conversation of the
Yeah,
wiki
yeah.
being created.
Yeah.
Oh my god. This is the genesis of an entire expanded universe.
Really.
No. I love that shit.
The H2C cinematic universe.
For real, for real. The fucking... I've actually found a new interest related to,
Do tell.
I guess, like, lore. And that is, I'm like blueprinting out a universe on like Word docs and shit, like creating a history to a world. Just because like I usually do that, but in my head, and I don't. It lasts for like an hour, and then I forget it even was created. But I'm actually keeping track. And if I start writing them down, they're gonna get so like they usually are weird. So it's gonna be like I just love creating little universes, and so that's what I was literally writing them down, and that reminded me of it, the Wikipedia thing, because it's like that's how I think of it, like early history, middle history, like late history, like things like that, and characters, significant figures, significant nation, point of interests, landmark. Like I think like in categories. So it's like I'm a bullet point list in my brain. Usually it's images though, so it's a bullet point list of images. And so that's
right.
It's a new fun thing I've been doing to pass time.
I like doing sort of in the same vein. I like making maps of like fantasy countries.
I do
that I
too.
make up in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've decided to do, because I'll make a lot of like different countries and different maps and stuff for like specific purposes. Like I have one map that I made that was specifically designed for a story I was going to write.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a couple maps that I made for D&D campaigns that I was doing. And what I've decided to do is I want to like combine all of them into one big world.
That's gonna be a big world.
And then make like, because I love writing, but I have trouble like I guess sticking with one story. So my idea that I have is basically to write a bunch of like short stories or novellas that all exist within this one world.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Like how short? Like 10 pages short, or like a paragraph short? Like
no, like
like short stories.
Novella short.
I don't know what a novella is actually.
Like 5,000 words, 10,000 words.
Oh wow.
Sometimes
I've written papers that big.
Because like a typical like a full-fledged fantasy novel is usually like 100,000 words or more, and a novella is 10,000 to 40,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking just releasing a bunch of novellas.
That could be
based around it.
Extremely entertaining, because you got to think about like when you create a story, like a big book or a movie or a TV show, right? That follows a cast and or like a plot line, like a very set in stone big one. You're limited in what you can do with it. Limited if you want it to stay good, right? You could go ape shit. It usually doesn't work out too well. But if you have like relatively short storylines and stuff, you can introduce like weird shit that's like extremely exclusive to that. Like say it's a shared universe, right? Like you're planning, like that country has a weird rule where if you're born on a day that is an interval of 3, you get put to death immediately. Like something weird and stupid, and have an entire storyline about like them trying to abolish a law that's like really dumb and stupid. Like you could do, because like that alone would be very like weird, and like, you couldn't make a whole story about that.
Right.
But you can if you're like, this is just a snapshot of like one location. And it's like you could go fucking weird. You could, because you can get super microscopic. You could be like, this entire novella, as you called it, takes place in a fucking cave, and a dude who thinks the world is dead, and he won't leave the cave. You can do shit like that, and that's so cool, because then you can drop hints in each one that's like a reference or a like a very loose reference or connection to another story in like the same. I assume it'd be like a compendium, but
Right.
it would be like that is such a cool idea, and I always loved stuff like that. So if you do that, hand me a copy. I want to read it.
Yeah. And yeah, and like you said, like jumping off of that, like I could do this dude like in the cave, thanks the world's ended or whatever, and
Hmm.
have this whole novella about like his own mental deterioration and all sorts of like just personal individual shit. And then I could have like in a different novella, like people are traveling across the country in this actual like hero's journey, like fantasy quest, and they
Yeah.
come into a cave and they see like a skeleton there, and it's like, oh,
Oh, that's so cool because that's like the same
yeah,
type of. It's like a world-based storytelling where it's like
yeah,
that is not a grand world-saving adventure. It is just a snapshot of one dude in this grand planet. I presume it's
yeah.
not spacefaring, but
No, it's fantasy.
I figure, yeah. So like, it could get so intricate and cool. Like you could
Yeah,
make it everything intertwine. You could have characters like overlap. Like you could have a story that takes place in an empire, right? And this empire is this vast place, and he's a young king or like a prince, right? He rises up or whatever lesser of an emperor is the son.
right.
Becomes emperor, and like there's a struggle, a personal story about that, and then like in another story, that empire could be like thousands of years old in the past, and you could be
Yeah,
like this great king or this great emperor, his
yeah.
dying nation. That you could talk about his later life, like and his like you could do so much cool shit.
Yeah, and it's like a big part of that is like it's kind of exactly what you're explaining. Like in a mainline sort of fantasy series with good world building, you hear tales of like stories that happened in the past and
Hmm.
myths and legends and deep histories. And if I could do like in this connected universe, I could actually go back and look at those and like actually tell those stories within this universe.
Yeah.
It's like it could be connected over thousands of years and just every different corner of this world that I've created. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm excited about getting started on that.
That is so cool. I have so many things I would like to like. I hate my incompetence because I am limited in what I can create because of two factors. One is my skill in the things I want to create, and two is my motivation. It's very lacking. I'll get like this peak of like I will do this thing like as if like it's my life's duty, and like an hour later, why am I doing this? This is stupid.
Right.
So like
Yeah,
I
100%.
have so many like cool things I would love to like stories to write. If I could draw, I'd make comics, like things like that. But I'm so dismotivated. So I have these vast ideas and universes, and it's just wasted away in my little think tank. So
I'm with you though. I'm the exact same way. I get so invested over these ideas and then I just give up on them after a short while. So
hmm,
I'm just like, what am I even doing? What's the point?
yeah, it's just how it is.
It's difficult for me to keep that momentum going and
Hmm.
turn that into uh, just like one long continuous drive for something.
Yeah,
I'm too like scatterbrained and have enough difficulties with motivation and procrastination.
yeah, especially if it's like I can from experience. I've tried to start things like this. Writing is like instead of something like making a video or podcast or thing of that nature, right? It's less of a monumentous mountain to climb and more of a shallow hill. You do a bunch of things, little things that kind of all add to a final product.
Right.
When you're writing, it's you started it, go. And
Yeah.
it's like you hit the fucking, you're climbing up a wall. And that is
Right.
insanely difficult to stick with because it's so hard. Your muscles only can last so long, right? So, like, it's hard to stick with stuff like that because I've tried to start writing story. I also can't write, but like I don't know grammar for books and stuff. But my chicken scratch, not chicken, it's typing, but my insane ramblings have
Right.
not lasted long. At the most, I think I got like 5 pages, and then I deleted it because it was like it started to just devolve into just fucking. You couldn't tell what the fuck was going on. So I was like, I just can't do it. But some people can, and that is a skill that it's hard to have for sure.
Right. And I think on one side, like that's part of why I think this idea that I have will benefit me, because the idea of like sitting down and writing an 100,000+ word fantasy novel is incredibly daunting. But sitting down and writing a 20,000 shorter story about one specific incident instead of this grand epic story, that's much more feasible to me.
Yeah.
But I also I have an idea. Because, what if I start writing these little shorter stories or these little novellas or whatever within this universe, we together, and by we I mean you, with me sort of acting as like an editor, you should write a novel for the universe.
I'll be your muse. Is that the right thing? Your inspiration.
Not at all.
I don't know. There's a word for like you're channeling what I do to like make creative stuff from how I act and my ideas. There's a word for it. I forgot.
I was more so thinking you write.
You want me to actually create something?
Yeah. Yes, and then I will.
It would be staggeringly terrible.
Since I'm a fucking. That's why I'll be an editor.
Oh God.
I write a little bit. I understand writing a little bit. I'm an English major, even though that's a whole story for a different day.
You're working on it.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, you write. I'll help you create a refined, finished product, and then we can publish that within the universe.
I mean, I'd be down. It wouldn't be that long because I can't hold a strain of thought that long.
Yeah.
Because I'm just too. It would start to stray. So.
But that's also part of it is like, because I think about like fantasy writers who have created really crazy, like really expansive worlds.
Tolkien.
The first one that comes to my mind, Tolkien. But George R. R. Martin is someone who comes to my mind. He wrote the A Song of Ice and Fire series, and all the connected works associated with it. He is getting older, and he still has 2 novels yet to be released.
Will they ever come out?
Within the mainline series. And a lot of people are like, is he going to die before he releases these books? And what I would love to create through the universe that I want to create is, we establish world and rules to that world, like things like, how does magic work if magic is an element? What's the history of these countries? What sort of vibe are we trying to put off with this? I would love to take in like trusted writers to start writing their own stories within this universe I create.
This already exists.
So that does it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's called the SCP Foundation.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I like SCP.
I do, and so I'm like, this sounds fun. This is a fun idea.
Yes, but fantasy based and like
more storylines, not
Yes.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
That is a cool idea where like you've created a set of rules so heavily structured that people can theoretically follow them enough. Because like that's always my favorite thing. That's why I'm a fucking huge loser weirdo when it comes to fucking like anime shit, right? Because they tend to set a bunch of arbitrary rules for their universes. So it's very easy to like, this is how this person would interact with this thing. You can do that because the rules exist in a certain way. They're hard systems. They don't bend or break. It's not like he used magic. That's it. It's like he used magic that he got from this stone, and these stones are mined in this one cave. So this country that owns this cave is very rare. Like there's rules and standards, and it's very fun to set things in that.
What anime did you just take that example from?
Nothing. I just came up top of my brain. But
oh, hell
there
yeah.
might be one. I don't know. There's a lot of them out there. But
There's so much like fiction out there in the world. It's like you're no matter what you create, you're taking elements from something
yeah,
out there.
yeah, you are for sure.
Such a deep pool.
A cool one is like when like a cool thing about that stuff is like explaining how their like weird system works, like especially if it's magic or whatever this type of thing is, right?
Yeah.
It's always fun to like, this is where it comes from, this is how it works, some people can do this, some people can do that, it all depends on this one factor. And there's like, that's my favorite part, is like power system creation. That's literally, I make those up in my brain all the time. Like I have so many power system ideas for like weird shit. Like everyone can create one form of element from the periodic table from nothing. Everyone can. So like that's one of them. I made this one a while ago when I was like fucking 15, but it's still in my head. And like I remember in this, I made a little like, oh, this guy can make uranium, so he accidentally fucking killed his family. Like dude, ask 15-year-old me what the fuck I was talking about. But I was like, he was like, oh, he was leaking it from his hands when he was sleeping, right? And he's accidentally like, they would be treated like lepers, right? So like,
Right.
It's a cool. I always come up with shit like that. That's a dumb one though. That was like when I was like literally 15, 16, like
It feels
board
like
in class.
15, 16, like when you're
chemistry
starting
class.
to find out that you can do this in your brain.
That's me staring at a periodic table in chemistry class.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
literally it.
Yeah. That's what it feels like, and that's good.
Yeah, but it's shit's fun. Do you have any of those that you've scrapped, or you just you'd like to share, like my periodic table?
I don't. I wrote a story that was. I don't. I've only done with like, I guess superpower, like, type stuff like once before, because I'm really into like just fantasy.
Yeah.
That's my main genre, and like supernatural fiction, like vampires, werewolves, fucking shit like that. Superpowers. I wrote one story once. That was basically like it was the most generic, bare bones, like it overdone storyline imaginable, where it was basically like there was a meteor that came down, a bunch of like this one town was really heavily infected, so it got locked down, and then the fucking government started coming in trying to fucking test on people. And I wrote this like long story about basically just that, and like I don't know, that was, I think that's why I didn't deal with like superpowers and stuff like that like long term as a writer, because I wrote that when I was in like high school, like 15 years old. I started writing that, and then I went back to it and I was like, wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
This is the most generic, boring shit I've ever written in my life. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm done with that. I have a lot of like, I hate going back to my old like stories that I wrote when I was in high school, because they're all that basic, same, like super generic, overdone, like, because when I started writing, my main focus was always characterization. I loved creating interesting characters. I loved getting into their minds, seeing them interact with each other. That was always my main focus. So story came like secondhand. Like I didn't give a shit about the story. I didn't give a shit about creating something original, because I just wanted to create characters that were interesting and unique and fun to deal with. So a lot of my early writing are like just this really intense, like characterization that I, even now being cynical and older, like appreciate and love, but stories that are just like ripped out of a fucking prompt book.
It's like, very hard to make an intriguing storyline. That's why I always stray from that, it's the hardest part. Especially if like the way I think of storylines is they're like events that need to happen, but stringing them together is the really hard part for me because it's like, oh, at one point I want his dad to become like a guy in the army. I'm just making this shit up. Like go in the army, right? And then at another point, I want his mother to
Get eaten by a octopus monster.
something like literally just random bullshit. And I'll be like, this. I insist on having these plot points. How the fuck do I link them together? Like it will be the most like so like early stuff of mine. I'm talking like because when I was like middle school, I had a weird like kick of like I want to write a book because I like stories and I want to make a story because at that point in time I had no idea like YouTube was like TV for me. That's like alien technology. I can write. They make me write in class like that. That was that logic jump, and so I wrote a bunch of weird shit like and it's like my two examples. Dad goes to the army and then mom gets eaten by an octopus. It would be like, so his dad, he went to the army to fight for his country, and then 3 months later his mom got eaten by an octopus. It'll just jump to like it'll skip like 3 months of this dude's life and have no explanation as to like where the octopus came from, why it's eating his mom. Like so like that's the issue with I come up with vast worlds and specific scenarios, but I can't make good characters or story.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's the problem.
I have a I have a bad habit of when I create stories or universes or whatever. I one of the very first things I always think about is how am I gonna kill this character? And like that's you talk about you having like events that you want to connect.
Yeah.
Those are my events. I'll sit around and I'll be like thinking about characters either that I'm currently like thinking about creating or that have created within stories that I haven't really developed yet. And I'll sit around and like think about how am I gonna kill this character off? And then I'll be like, okay, now how do I connect all these deaths to make a cohesive story? Listen.
It's literally what I do. It's just like, I want this to happen. It's happening. How am I going to make it happen?
Yeah.
And then it just turns into like a spiky, weird mess to get there.
Yeah.
I feel like the way a character-driven book should be written is an established plot line first, but like it's a loot. So like, because you know how you don't want to set it too on rails, right? To the point where they're being ushered everywhere. And you don't want it to be too loose, so it seems like a jump to make them go to the locations they need to go. You need to make it in such a way where the circumstances of their universe, of the world you've created, would naturally progress them to that point. So it's almost like you're experiencing the story as you write. Like, because I put them in this scenario, it would only logically make sense for them to go to this scenario. So you don't have to like jump. It just kind of falls into place. Everything kind of links together. Almost like you're experiencing the story with this guy. Like even as you write, because it's just the world is created in such a way to be structured just enough for those things have to happen for the world to make sense. So it's a hard, like, it's like a hallway that's been created and you're bouncing around in there instead of like following a track or jumping point to point. That's how I like to think of it, but I just can't do it.
I think you want your readers to question your characters. You never want your readers to question your story. So like you can create something that will make sense for the characters. Like you said, have there be some logic as to why they do what they do.
Yeah.
And you can look and as a reader, you can have, or like as a writer, you can build it where your readers want to look in on the minds of your characters and understand why they're doing what they're doing, and that's good. But if readers ever stop and are thinking about like, this why is the story built like this?
Yeah.
Then that's when you're losing people.
They shouldn't notice that there's a story. I feel
Exactly. Yeah.
it should be like you're following an adventure. Like it should be like you don't think about it. Like, I'm not reading a
Right.
book. This is not a story. Like, this is a world you're in right now. Like, these are real problems. These are real events. Like, once they
Right.
go, okay, so now he's gonna fight the monster and win the girl. Like, that's when it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you shouldn't
That's
think
when
about it or notice.
exactly.
That's I feel like I've read a lot of books where I do notice. Because I used to read a lot. Believe it or not, I barely read now, but I used to read a fuck ton in like probably around middle school. That's why I had that weird kick to
I
write
believe it.
things. And it was just this book's cover looks cool at the library, and it's like the most dumb shit in the universe.
Yeah.
Oh, accidentally picked up like a fucking American classic. And I'm like, why is this written weird? Because it's like they did the rework cover or something, and it's like
Yeah.
a fancy image, and it's like, oh, cool. This is Huckleberry Finn. Like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I have experienced some trash, so I know what trash looks like at least.
Right.
I just make it too.
Now you need to. Now you can. Now you gotta write.
Always
You gotta.
after writing like a couple paragraphs, go back and reread it. Go, okay. Let me stop here and see what I actually put on paper.
No, actually, you're not supposed to do that.
Well,
That is
really?
the opposite of what you're supposed to do. That's what kills so many writers, is constantly going back and rereading their work. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to write and just write.
I
And
feel
it
like it
doesn't.
would accidentally stray if you did that without.
That's why there's a writing process,
See, I don't know that stuff because I
which
was.
is the writing process is first draft, revise and edit, and then final draft.
Ah, I
And
get
it's
it.
you put everything on paper, you create your story, then you go back, read it, change what needs to be changed, rewrite, and then eventually through that whole process you'll get your final project. But I do the same shit where I'm like, I'll write I'll write like a script, and I'll write 5 pages, and then I'll go back and reread those 5 pages, and I'll be like, I don't like this, let's change it. And I just do that over and over again, and I never end up finishing
You get in
anything.
the loop.
Yeah, you get caught up in the loop of trying to make something perfect
Mm-hmm.
that you never actually ever finish.
I could see that especially with a script because scripts are very, pretty much almost entirely dialogue with like scene, blah 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 blah, and then dialogue, right? So it's like, would they say that? Does that make sense to say? Would that interaction? And then you like start to like, ugh, and then you focus on like redoing those bits. I can see that being a problem. I've never written a script before because I don't make scripts, so it's like
Right.
I have made them for school, not out of my own entertainment. I know the process to make them. I don't. I usually work on like program sheets, but it's. I can see that heavily. That's something that I think would be really fun. Is you being the resident writer, make a like 5-minute video script between like me, you, and maybe like a couple other people, and we have to film it and just put it on the channel, no context, and it's
Hell yeah.
and it's a disclaimer at the beginning. This was a script written by you. There's no costumes, no anything. Almost like it's improv, but it's script, and it's just almost like a script reading, but you don't like you actually act shit out. Like I think it would be funny to like bust
Right.
something like that out because it wouldn't be too complicated. Besides, obviously, you writing the script, but like you
actually-
write camera 1 points at room opening scene, this dialogue, and then I think it'd be fun just to like test everyone's acting skill because
Yeah.
I can't, and so it'd be funny.
It would be fun.
I always thought shit like that would be fun to do.
Yeah. I watched a lot of like web series, like YouTube web series growing up and stuff.
Mhm.
And I've always kept that idea of like with the channel, if I go back to Missouri and we get a place either together or nearby where we're doing in-person content a lot,
Mhm.
I've thought about like let's write a web series and like make
Ooh,
something like
that'd be fun.
actual like long form fiction.
That would be very fun. I would love stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
just so, especially something you learn, especially in my major, which is essentially that. Shit sounds so easy. And then you try to do it and it looks like dog shit. And then you're like, that was a shitty idea. So it'll sound good. The camera work will look good. The characters are good characters. Everything will look good. And then you put it together and you're like, okay, let's take a step back real quick, because those things are so separated, right? Camera work is completely separate from script work, and acting and all this. Like, it's all relies on everything to be perfect, and not only be perfect, to mesh.
Right.
It could be the best script ever, the best actors ever, the best camera work, cinematography from the gods. It could have audio from fucking the guy who did Star Wars, right? You could, guys, it's a whole team, but they could be that. Like, the Foley work is, they were stepping on that sand like it's nobody's business. Like, it could be the most god tier shit in the universe, but if the shit don't mesh, it ain't gonna work. Like, if they were thinking different things, if they had different sources with their lore, right? That's why, like, Star Wars, who made it? George Lucas made it. He made the story. He probably wrote scripts and shit. He was there constantly fucking micromanaging everything. That's why it worked.
Yeah.
Like, you could watch a movie and you're like, oh, no one talked to each other.
Yeah.
Some Marvel movies.
That's actually something I really struggle with as a potential creator and filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do everything.
Yes.
I want, like, I did a year of, like, film school sort of stuff. It wasn't a proper film school. It was St. Joe, but they had a film program, and constantly being asked, like, okay, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? Do you want to be one of the production people? Do you want to be a director, a writer, an actor? And I'm like, all of it. I kind of want to do all of it. Like, I want to write my script. I want to direct it. I've thought about acting.
You want to be Tarantino because he does everything. Yes. He's in it. He wrote it. He came up with it.
Yeah.
You just want.
And I'm too much of a control freak about my creations. I don't like the idea of writing a script and then giving it to a director to make happen.
Well,
do it all.
Yeah. We've worked on stuff. We don't really have directors on our things because they're not scripted thing. Well, there is a script, but it's like news, right? So they read the prompt.
Yeah.
But they'll do things like, there's a producer. We have a producer. They're the head honcho. They came up with everything. We do what they say. They almost do producing and directing. Mm-hmm. In a small form factor thing, like a web series that's like 5-minute episodes or something, and then like it's very small scale in comparison to like TV movies, right? Having someone be producer and director, especially if they know what to do for both of those roles, it's so much simpler because there's no middleman. You don't have to go, hey, can you tell the producer this? Because that's annoying. You know what I want to do? I want to go to the man in charge and go, everything's good. A-okay.
Yeah.
Like, that was when we we did a parade. And we had a lot of shit go wrong. But one thing I think went wrong the most is communication, because they had so many middlemen, so many people you had to talk to. This is the audio person. They're in control of audio. Well, tell the audio person that the audio isn't working with the video. Oh, no. Sorry, I got to take that to the video guy. I got to talk to the audio person. They'll talk to the video person. The video person will go, I have no fucks going on. Then it will go to the director or something. And then it's like, oh, well, it's all the TD's fault. Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going on in the truck, okay? I'm out of the truck. I'm walking around handing cables to people. I don't know what's going on in there. Just do it for me. Where's the head honcho? And I go and I find the head honcho, and I'm like, there's the issue. And there's just so much communication issues, and it's very easily. If you have too many people,
too many cooks in the kitchen,
it fucks it up. And that's exactly why we got fucked up during our parade. But it came out good at the end. But it was...
Yeah.
Good Lord. So, you got to have a reasonably sized chain of command.
I'm with you.
So you would be director and producer.
Hell yeah. Let's make a web series once we
get a camera. Step 1. I have to buy one eventually. I know a couple good ones. I could rent one from my friend Zach. That's what we usually do. I'm like, hey, Zach, I have an idea. And he goes, okay, I'm heading over. It's pretty much what it is. But yeah, it's so that stuff's fun. It would be really fun to do that.
Yes, I agree. Would be quite fun to do that. Sorry.
You're reading something clearly.
I am. Listen, I know you don't give a shit. I love football.
And you're reading football?
I'm on Twitter reading stuff about football.
Can you explain that to me actually? What is captivating about football? More accurately, why the sport and why you follow it. What is so cool about it?
I love. It's like. First of all, I love competition. I love everything that has some sort of competitive element to it.
Okay.
I love all sports. Like I will sit and watch. I hate golf. I'll sit and watch golf because there's a competitive aspect to it. And football to me is the best because there's so much that goes into it. There's 11 guys on the field per team, 22 guys total. Like no other sport has that. Like soccer has a lot of players.
There's a lot of repeat roles.
Yeah. And like everybody on a football field, an American football field, has a specific role, and everyone has to come together to do. It is the ultimate team sport, in my opinion. Like you don't get situations where one person can carry a team. Like in basketball, you have
Stafford in the Lions.
Yeah, Stafford.
Notice how as soon as he's gone, they have 3 wins. I think.
Mate, they weren't doing good when he was there.
They had like 5-6 wins when he was with them. Okay.
Yeah.
I am insistent that he carried them. That's why they were so bad, because they were relying on like 2 people. To do anything.
People in football can tank a team. Like all it takes is one person to really fuck shit up.
Yeah.
But one person can't carry a team to a Super Bowl win.
Yeah, no, that is true, yeah.
In basketball, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Giannis, and for the Bucks, like you can have teams where one person plays fucking amazing and that team will go far because there's only 5 people on the field or on the court at a time. Football, that's just not how it works. And I don't know. I love
that.
football. I love analyzing players. I love play calling and analyzing play calling and all the plays and shit and how intricate it can be to like design stuff where everybody does something.
I think the reason I can't get behind, like, I have interest in football, and it's a forced interest because I live in America where like that's the biggest sport. Right. So it's kind of is shoved down my throat everywhere I go. So eventually you kind of develop like, oh, how are they doing this year? It's that like level of interest is almost baseline for everyone in this country. Yeah. And then there's a progress from there. And it's because it's like the biggest thing. Because like other countries will go, no, it is baseball, right? Because that's the American sport. It's baseball. I don't know what that accent was. It was just a foreign guy. I don't know. Baseball. I was thinking like Russian for some reason because they have like the second highest purchase.
Generic foreign person.
Pretty much. It's like fucking. Sorry. That's what everyone see. It's like baseball's the American sport, right? You come here though, it's very football dominant. Baseball's huge, right? Soccer is also huge. Or do they call soccer European football? Is that a thing?
No, it's soccer or
football.
Football in other.
I guess yeah.
Its real name is association football.
There's like 7 games on this planet with huge populations called football, which is also very funny I watched a video about the origin of the term, and it's because you play it on foot and not on horse, because the rich people played games on horses. So like
Right.
everything was called football like 100 years ago. But it's just so shoved down the throat, so I have a passing interest. But I've never been so invested. I think it's because I find more interest in like person v person. I find like a test of skill in an aspect, whether it be
Do you watch MMA?
I don't, and I should. I would love it, but
I love MMA as well.
I think it's because it's like pay-per-view or something. Like it's so hard to like get into it. You have to like
Mate.
watch it on. You have to break the law. It's that, and it's like I don't.
I've never paid for a UFC pay-per-view.
I've seen like
I've watched-
multiple fights and never paid.
Yeah.
I find them on my sources. Don't let UFC hear this. Shh. But I would love stuff like that. But the issue with me is I want something bombastic. I want something crazy. And real fighting isn't that cool looking, right? Because if you don't know what they're doing, if you're a layman, it's just people swinging punches at each other. That's what it looks like, right? You don't understand. I don't get it. So it's like,
Sure.
there's no spectacle. That's why it's like, oh, he's bleeding now. That's the fucking spectacle. It's like NASCAR. What do the people like to see in NASCAR? Do you think they're there to see them go in circles? No.
By you bringing that up, okay, there is one thing that I don't give a shit about its competitive nature. I will not watch. It's NASCAR.
I hate NASCAR. It's so
It's the
stupid.
worst.
Oh my god. You know what is fun to watch? The fucking truck one. Where they're on like these dirt things and they'll do sick jumps and it's still a race. That one's cool.
Kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I just always like the individual. That's why I like
I kinda
watching.
fucking- Sorry.
Also, that's why I like watch fighting games, like in tournaments and stuff. I'll watch VODs of streams and stuff.
Hell yeah. I love fighting games. Especially like I watched a lot of Smash.
Mm-hmm.
Or I used to. Right now
That's
there's
about-
not a lot of Smash going on.
I think it's because
Still in the middle.
I know what's going on in the fighting games. They're pressing, but I know what buttons they're pressing. I know how the mechanics work. I feel like if I knew more about fighting technique, I would be way more into the UFC. Like,
feel
that
like
is
that's
a
every
axe kick. Oh my god.
I feel like that's every sport though, because like that's how I used to be with basketball, where I was like, okay, it's just these guys trying to get the ball in this hoop, and these guys trying to get the ball in this hoop,
Mhm.
and then it's like, the older I've gotten, it's like, okay, no, they actually have positions, tasks. There are like, there's actual play calling of what you're supposed to do on the court. There's a whole lot that goes into it.
I think
So I feel like
basketball
that-
hides it.
That's just what it takes. Like, just the more you
Yeah.
learn about something, the more
The more
it
you
makes
can
sense to you,
appreciate the
obviously,
skill.
more yeah, and that's like me with football. It's like the more I learned about what it takes to be a good player and what each play is called, what these routes are called, what this wide receiver is doing on this play, that just learning more about it increased my appreciation for it.
Yeah, that's definitely what most of it, the interest probably comes from, is knowing how each mechanic works and being like they executed that set of tasks extremely precisely and skilled. They knew when to time it, whether it be passing it at this time or doing that fucking spin move, right, where they had the ball. They do the they did that really good, like stuff like that. Fucking, oh my god, he fucking lobbed that thing, like knowing how that.
He lobbed that.
But one sport that you talked about that I know most of the, because I've had to film it, is basketball. I know how basketball works, and I don't fucking care. Dude, it is for the entire time. And sometimes someone does something cool, like they half-court it, or someone dunks. It's like, oh, it's done. And then you have to sit and watch this mundane thing. Like, there are different positions, right? But you can't tell. When you're just sitting there watching, you have to, like, know all of basketball to be like, okay, that guy's job is this. It's like, you have to know everything. Because I know positions in football, and I can point at a position and go, I know what that guy does. Because everyone's laid out in an even fashion. Oh, my God.
Yes.
Basketball is a mob of people going back and forth. I can't tell what the fuck's going on, and so it's like just boring to me. Like that's I would rather watch soccer, and soccer's pretty boring. So
Yeah.
like the face you made when I mentioned watching soccer. God,
Yeah. I mean,
be way more interesting in Europe.
I watch the big games of like everything, but like during the season, I watch a lot of football, and I watch hockey. And other than that, it's like I have a basketball team I really like. I'm a Bucks fan. I don't watch that much basketball. I don't watch the Bucks play often. If I'm sitting on the couch and a Bucks game is on, I'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll watch. I don't really give a shit otherwise. Baseball is this like, I'm a Mets fan. I don't fucking watch the Mets.
Pour one out for the Mets fans. Yeah, I think games are too long.
In baseball, 100% dude. I cannot watch baseball. It's like a 7-hour game. It's fucking ridiculous.
7 hours? It's long. I know it's long. I've sat through an entire one in a stadium before. It's not fun, but they're long because it's dependent. There's no clock. There is,
like
but it's
3.5 hours.
Yeah, it's insane. It's loosely based on a clock, kind of like football has the clock, right? When the clock's over, game's over. Tough luck, nerds, it's over, unless like overtime. But like baseball, it still has that system. I know because when I watch, there's a little timer going down, but it just takes way longer. I think there's more stoppages. Like I think every time they switch, it swaps or stops the clock, and then they have to do that whole like walk back on the field thing, and it's like, oh my god, I'm gonna have a fucking aneurysm, bro.
It's just based off innings.
Is it inning based?
Yeah, it's innings. There's 9 innings, and if that inning lasts for 5 minutes, then great. If that inning lasts for an hour,
good
tough
Lord.
shit. You got 8 more of them.
Oh my god, how do people watch that? That one I can't get.
I used to work. Shout outs to my man Dan. I used to work with him. Huge baseball fan. Loves baseball. Came in and would talk to me about it every day. He fucking he told me he watches the first like 2 innings, takes a nap, wakes back up for the last 2 or 3 innings. And I was like, if that's what you do, like, why do you like it? You don't like it. You just like knowing the score. Because you're not actually watching it.
It's like my grandpa. He's like, my favorite sport to watch is golf. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'll look over and golf's on. Every time golf's on, he's sleeping. It's like, you're not watching it. You just wake up at the end of the fucking... Because it's like a day-by-day tournament. Right? You wake up at the end of the fucking time they play to go, okay, who's in the lead? Okay, tomorrow I'll tune in. So it's like, who the fuck? Why? Just look at it on your phone afterwards. Like, no, that's his nap game. It is a very good... The way they do that, that is so good for sleeping. Like, as soon as it turns on, I'm like, oh shit, I'm tired.
I was about to ask, do you have something that you put on when you're tired? Like, any like thing you always go back to? Is like, this will help me go to sleep?
Not really, solely because the way my head works, if I like, okay, it's time to sleep, give me 15 minutes, gone. Like, if I decide it's time to sleep, I'm gonna sleep. I never have had issues with, like, my sister has really bad sleeping. She has to take these pills sometimes, not all the time because you're not supposed to, but sometimes she takes it and it literally just that's why you're not supposed to take it all the time, because you can like become too accustomed to it doing it for you and your brain can't redo those signals. But like, I have a radio on, I guess. I can't sleep in absolute silence that well. I need something on in the background, just because it turns into white noise. I can't do actual white noise though. It's too static. It reminds me of TV static, which for some reason doesn't work. A fan is fine though.
I used to listen to. I would always put on like MMA video essays.
Video essay on MMA.
I started watching them because I love MMA and it's cool. I just I go to YouTube, find a video essay talking about this fighter's career or this one specific fight or this tournament or the history of this weight class. And I'm like, when I started watching those, I was like, that's actually interesting. I'm gonna sit down and watch these. And then I would just fall asleep every fucking time. So my brain was like,
That's sleep
it
time.
tricked my brain into, yeah, like any time in the future, I'd be like, just type in an MMA video essay, put my earbuds in, I'm out.
Yeah, that's I have certain like I get it, but I don't have any of those specifically. Like I hear people on like the internet, right? I'll see people on Twitter posting about like they watch the guys who build things out of mud and sticks. Like in the middle of the jungle, like to just like it's sped up like a time lapse, and they'll watch them to sleep because it's like the because the building noises but sped up. It's like that would probably put me to sleep like that because it's just.
That reminds me. Are you familiar with the Minecraft Super Hostile maps?
What is Super Hostile map?
So they're maps that were made by this one dude who basically the whole point of it is like it's really difficult to survive. It's like a very hostile environment. There's traps and dungeons and a bunch of spawners and shit, and you have to go around the map collecting all the different wool colors to put in a monument to beat the map.
Okay.
They're very cool. I really enjoy playing them. But it's like Minecraft, so you can still destroy walls, build shit, craft materials. The only rule associated with it is you can't actually make the wool. You have to find the wool in the chest.
Is that the origin of that "you're fucking cheating" video? Have you seen it? It's against the rules. The rule. I gotta send you. If you don't know what that is, I gotta send you. The guy made a wool block for a custom map. Yes, and the guy was like, "Don't do it! Don't do it!" And you see it pop up in the dude's hand. He goes, "You broke the rules!" And it's the funniest video on the fucking planet.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yes, that is.
Okay,
that is the origin. They're really fun to play, actually. Anyway, but because it's still Minecraft and you can do basically whatever you want, I like I'll put on like the speed runs of those maps, and it's just like it'll be like they'll get a couple resources and then they'll go to like this random coordinate and dig straight down and just skip all the dungeon and shit like that, and they'll like that helps me sleep, and it's the same sort of method of or the same sort of thing with the building sped up. Yeah, it's just the noise of the Minecraft blocks breaking really quickly, something happening on a screen that I can just relax to. We should play one of those maps.
We should. I have been like, so I have a VR headset. You can't see it. It's behind me. It's on the table. And I got Minecraft to work on it. So I link it to, I'm running it. I can play on Java. Like, I could hop on my friend's realm and we can see our massive thing we've constructed. But everything's so much bigger because you're not looking through a screen. You're in it. And I'm like, oh my god, I could build a little cabin. And I could definitely like lay on that couch and pass out for like 7 hours. Because it's like, when you have headphones on, right? And you're like immersed in like the Minecraft world, it's so peaceful and nice and everything's so calm. It's like that's the closest thing like to like meditation I've ever achieved. Like I was fucking around, I'm like, oh my god, this is like, I'm okay with a dystopian future if I can do this. Like
build yourself a nice cozy cabin, put a fire, like fireplace, put the fire on.
That's what I did. They have a campfire block now, and it makes the campfire noise, and it also emits a glow. So I put no other torches except that, and I built like a wool like rectangle, and I sat on it, and I was like, holy shit! And that was like, it took me like 5 minutes. I wasn't creative. It was so crazy though.
That sounds fucking sick.
Yeah, I've been on a VR kick.
I need to get a goddamn VR.
Dude, my favorite thing right now is VR chat because it is people. I know. It's people watching to a fucking extreme.
I was trying to get some gamers to come hang out, and you were like, you didn't say anything.
I saw the message because I had this toaster strapped to my fucking head, and so I was like lifted it, saw the message, and went, I'll respond later, and completely forgot. Because it's if I take it off, it turns off, and it fucks the whole system up. because it has a light sensor, and it goes, oh, there's light. That means they took it off their head. It's gonna go in sleep mode, and it fucks everything up. So I just, nope, I'm in this for right now. I'm jacked into the virtual world, and I had that headset on. I didn't take it off for like 5 hours. Not 5 hours, like 3 hours with my friend. And we were just walking around finding like the weirdest people on the planet.
Yeah.
Like 2008 called. They need you back. You're in the wrong timeline, bro. Like, this guy's got like the anime like e-boy like skin aesthetic with like Hot Topic-esque fashion from like 2008. Not like modern like branded things. No, like net on the arms kind of shit, dog. And I'm like, oh no. And then they'll be like, hey, this is my VR girlfriend. And I'm like, it's another person. And it's like, oh my god, this is like, I'm reaching levels of cringe that are not even supposed to be physically possible. And so me and my friend walk around. What? Would I or have I?
Would you?
No. I go there and I fucking shitpost, dude. I just walk around and be like, hey, bro, what's going on? And this guy will be like, I'm on a VR date. And I'm like, have you had VR sex? I don't do that with my friend because he's shy to that stuff. But I'll ask people that shit when I'm playing alone. I'll go in. I'll be like, I walked in. There's some worlds that are for ERP. And I'll walk in. And I'll be like, y'all banging? And I'm in my fucking like, it's like a skeleton, or like I have one that's a dog. It's a head of like a dog on like a man's body in a suit, and the mouth flaps when I talk.
True.
A favorite one is there's a thumb up emote, like a thing you can do because the controllers make it so you can do this. So I put it down in my crotch, and I go, "Hey yo, bro, stupid as shit." It's so great, dude. You need to experience it.
I don't think I want to.
It's amazing.
It sounds like
funniest
hell.
shit in the universe.
It sounds like fucking hell.
80% of the time I'm laughing the entire time. I mute myself so they can't hear me laughing.
Right.
I'm just laughing at weirdos. Oh, well, on that note, we are reaching the end of the episode. Do you want to do your spiel?
You can't say that because then I immediately lose it. I go blank.
That is a weird criteria. Your
Yeah.
kryptonite is me bringing attention to the ending.
Yeah. We're so out of practice that it's like it doesn't come natural anymore.
Well, coming up,
Anyway. What?
we can get back on it. I'm ready. I'm able to.
Not only do I want to get back on weekly podcasts. That means once a week,
Yeah.
every week. I also want to make fucking gaming content.
Yeah, when you play Outlast.
We need to play Outlast. I've been playing a fuck ton of COD Zombies lately. We should do a Minecraft Super Hostile.
We should. That'd be cool.
All right. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you made it this far, love you. Like, comment, subscribe. I mean, obviously you like our shit. You made it this far anyway. Anything you want to add, Drew?
We're gonna try to be back on it. Expect this one to be, I guess, expect you'll be watching it. Expect the next one next weekend. There you go. It's gonna happen. And if it doesn't, I'm cutting off my pinky.
I'm okay.
Well, this all hinges on you. Please do not back out last minute because I want my pinky. Okay.
Never back out.
To be like, I have plans Saturday. Sorry, I can't. Fuck, dude, I got a knife right here, man.
Just time ticking down.
It's 11:59.
All right. Anyway, Jesus, that got morbid quick. Yeah. Thanks for watching. See you guys next week. Deuces.
Deuces.